When you log into www.acr.org, this is going to be your home screen once you type in your user credentials. Up here, it's going to say, have your username, the site of your practice, and then your site ID number. The only areas that you're really going to use on this home screen are your quick links, which is when you go to add a new patient or find an existing patient. And then once you've completed the whole entire process, your review data, which would be your PQRS provider report. You'll want, after you've done all 20 patients for all doctors in your practice, you'll want to generate this report. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to enter in a new patient. And if you'll look back to the email and the form I sent you in that email, you should have received the 2013 RCR PQRS data entry form. Because 2014 is the same as 2013, we haven't updated this. The only areas and questions you need to answer once in the registry are the ones on this form. If there's a question in the registry and you don't find it on this form, then it does not need to be answered. And I'll give you examples of that as we go through the registry. So we'll enter in our new patient. This medical record number can be any number that you come up with. It can be something you want to use just for the computer system, or it can be their paper chart number. And then it'll ask you to answer gender, date of birth, and then again, the majority of your patients need to be Medicare Part B. All of them can be Medicare Part B, but definitely the majority needs to be Medicare Part B. Asks you to identify their race, their ethnicity, and you can select not documented. You don't need to fill out the education information, and then they just want to know the last name and the first name for this patient. Perhaps one of the most important questions, are you reporting this patient for PQRS quality measures? Please make sure you indicate yes. Otherwise, this patient won't count towards your 20. Is this a JIA patient? Don't answer that. That's for juveniles. At the very bottom of the screen, there's going to be a complete. My screen might not let me scroll all the way down to see that. And you will save and exit the form. Don't save and continue. For some reason that can freeze up your screen. Just do save and exit. Once you've saved and exited the form, you'll be brought out to this patient matrix. These dates indicate that the form was completed on this date. And then this is your patient registration form, which you just filled out. And then you'll have your RA encounter form. You'll fill out this for all the patients who are doing PQRS. And there should be several, once you start putting in lots of patients, there'll be several pages of these matrices. So for the patient we just entered, which is on today's date, we'll go ahead and enter in their PQRS RA form. Their date of birth is already in here, but we do want to make sure that we designate this encounter for PQRS. So we'll check that box. We'll put in their date of service, or if it's today, we can just mark today. You'll have a drop-down menu with the providers in your office. You want to mark it for rheumatoid arthritis. And you don't need to do date of diagnosis. And you'll notice that on this form that I gave you, that's not one of the questions you need to answer. It just goes straight to CPT code, so we will also go straight to CPT code. And then at the bottom, we'll move on to patient assessment, now that we've done the basic patient information. So for the first measure, which is functional status, we want to put in the date that we performed this functional status assessment. We want to say that we used just a standardized tool. It can be any of these tools, or if you use another standardized one, you can go ahead and write in the score of that. They will ask you for the score. And then the next measure is very similar for disease activity. We'll go ahead and put in the date that you performed disease activity. Again, you'll select the standardized tool. And again, you'll enter in the score. The next one is our disease activity classification. So this is based on their score. They might be experiencing some low activity, some moderate or high. They might even be in remission. This is completely up to the physician's discretion and how they feel that this should be answered. Once you finish with disease activity and functional status, you'll do the assessment of prognosis. Maybe this was performed on the same day that the two standardized tools were used for disease activity and functional status. And basically what they're asking here is, based on those two scores, is the patient in good or poor condition? And again, this is up to the doctor's discretion, however they feel that this patient should be classified. You'll skip over all of these questions, and you'll go straight to patient medications. This is the DMARD measure. They just want to know which DMARD the patient is on. So you'll select the DMARD, and these additional questions pop up, but you don't need to answer them. You just need to select the DMARD that the patient is currently on. For their first course of biologic DMARD, this means that they've never been on a DMARD before 2014. For the patients who are on their first course of DMARD, you'd want to answer yes to both of these questions. If the patient is not on their first course, then you won't be able to answer the tuberculosis screening question. The very last measure is with glucocorticoids. You'll select the glucocorticoid the patient is on. Select yes, they're taking it daily and orally. For the treatment of RA, yes. Then you want to enter in the milligrams, or the dosage that they take. If it's 10 or less, then you're done with the measures and reporting, and you don't need to answer any of these additional questions. If it's above the recommended dosage, you will need to answer the question, if the dosage exceeds 10 milligrams, why? If it's another reason, there's some additional reasons below. That's the very last measure. So we'll scroll down to the very bottom. We'll mark the form complete, and we'll save and exit. I do want to show you, if you forgot to answer one of the questions for PQRS, I do want to show you what will happen. So let's pretend that we forgot to answer the last part of the glucocorticoid question, and I'll save and exit the form, and it'll ask me to correct all the errors before saving. So I just click on the error, it'll take me to it. It says that I need to answer this question. And then once I've answered all the errors, this pink box will be blank, letting me know that I can now save and exit the form. Once I've saved and exited the form, I can go find it on the last page. And there it is, with the date. There'll be a little yellow P for PQRS, and this patient has successfully been entered into the database. You can then go back to the home screen and start again with another patient. And like I said, we'll use the PQRS provider report once you've entered in all 20 patients. And you'll select the year, and then you'll generate the report. Because I have a test account and I haven't done 20 patients for each physician, there's going to be red X's for incomplete. These would be green check marks if the data was entered in successfully. And of course, if you have any questions, please give us a call at the ACR at 404-633-3777, and I'm at extension 116.